It's Defensive Wednesday here on the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast on the Buckeyes Roundtable YouTube channel. Anthony Moeglin jumping in here with my partner, former Buckeye, Kevin Woidke. And today we are talking Ohio State's defense. That's going to lead the show, but we got a ton of storylines to get into today. Starting, Kevin, with the college football playoff. The third rankings were released on Tuesday night. We're Wednesday as this is recording, released on Tuesday night. Ohio State stays at the top of the list. Indiana comes in at number 2. Texas A&M survives, stays at number 3, and Georgia rounds out the top 4 with the number 4 ranking. Kev, I'm going to pull up the bracket here. Was there anything that stood out to you that was pretty crazy in terms of what this bracket looked like?
Well, just kind of a couple things of what it means. When you pull it up, I'll point it out. I think it shows that the only group of 5 team they care about is the American,
Yes.
which is why Tulane's down there. The other part that's interesting is, realistically, if Alabama wins the rest of their games, they go to the SEC championship game over Georgia. Mm-hmm. So Georgia could theoretically, if Texas A&M wins the SEC championship over Alabama, Georgia could theoretically stay at 4 because the ACC champion isn't getting in, which is crazy that they're still putting Miami there. That doesn't make sense to me, but that's what they're choosing to do. And I mean, the other thing this says, it really just showcases how it's a 2-horse race. I mean, you have one ACC, one Big 12, one American. The rest are Big 10 and SEC. And again, because it's on an SEC channel, the SEC gets more nods. But yeah. I don't think all these teams will be in it by the end of the year. I just don't.
Kevin, and to finish that point on Georgia, right, they're staring down the barrel of a double bye, right? Like, because they're the number 4 seed. So where they're at right now, if things stay status quo through the rest of the year, which they should, like Alabama, I think they play the Citadel on Saturday, and then they play Auburn to win to end the year. So they're looking at being in the SEC championship game. And then A&M got their scare out of the way. They survived it. 2 tough games left. I believe they have Texas probably left in week 13 or the final week of the year. But if those 2 stay status quo, they'll play in the SEC title game. Georgia will stay number 4, so they won't have the SEC championship game, and then they'll have a bye week. So they'll be coming in like fresh into their first playoff game.
Yes, but also you could see it as similarly to when teams would enter that Final 4 playoff game at the end of the year after having 3 weeks of just hitting each other.
Yep.
It could be weird. Who knows, really? I mean, that's the crazy part. I think that when Texas A&M wins, Bama's out. Bama's gone. There's no reason to keep him in.
Yep.
So that one is going to be a new team anyway. I don't understand how Miami is the team that there could be a 6-way tie for the ACC.
Yeah.
Why do they keep putting Miami there? That has got to be to get clicks. That has got to be to get people involved because it doesn't make sense to me. And then obviously Notre Dame cheats the system yet again.
Yeah,
because they're the highest-rated non-Power 5 team. Again, it's a genius move by their AD who came up with this format. Fantastic. Good for them. Outsmarted the world yet again. Way to go, you stupid leprechauns. But, yeah, I think the other thing that kind of points out is just how top-heavy the Big Ten was because you really can't argue. Right now, you can't argue for anybody else to be in.
No.
Other than these 3 teams.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And the other one that's really important is the Oregon at number 7 because, that basically makes Saturday when they play USC. That's like a playoff game because if like USC wins that game, USC then catapults back into the conversation. They may not get all the way in next week, but they'll have an opportunity to get back in. If they lose, USC's out and Oregon's kind of squarely in. So there's going to be some shakeup there. Now, a thought that I had, Kevin, when looking at this was when these were released, as many people do, or all of these like sports books do, they release the hypothetical lines of these games. So that Notre Dame OU game, I think, was like a 3-point spread. Alabama and Oregon was like 4. Miami and Ole Miss was like 2.5 or whatever it was, all within one score. And then that bottom left, I'm blocking the Texas Tech logo down here, but that Texas Tech Tulane game was a spread of 23.5. And it begged the question for me, are they forcing these group of 5 teams into this? And should they be forcing these group of 5 teams into this? Because, man, it is good, but it is like a participation trophy. And these guys just come in and will just get mollywopped by some of these big-time programs here.
Well, yes, I think you kind of have to, because they thought Arizona State was going to get mollywopped last year on the Big 12.
True.
Like, Boise State did get absolutely killed. I won't challenge that, but I don't know if Tulane's the best group of 5 team. I personally think it's JMU. That's the best group of 5 team. But there's still a possibility. I don't really see it happening anymore because they bumped JMU all the way out of the top 25, which that's what I wanted to look at real quick before we go on. I want to see the other teams that are.
Yeah. Well, as you're pulling that up, the furthest place you have to go to see if Tulane should be in it is right to their head coach, John. I forget his last name. It's slipping my mind right now. But basically, he was like, in his press conference, he was like, "Yeah, we don't deserve this." Like he's like, if we're ranked in the top 25, that means there's some pretty bad football being played around the country. And he's like, right, like this is a Tulane team that lost to UTSA by 22 points or whatever it was. And to your point, it looks like you found it. JMU is awfully deserving of that last position because they're steamrolling teams and leaving no doubt.
They really are. They're the most competitive. Like you could see it shake up depending on how the Big 12 finishes with. If BYU ends the season with 2 losses and Bama ends it with 3, I could see them getting in because their second loss would be to Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. So I could see them getting in. I could realistically, the ACC is the biggest toss-up I've ever seen in my entire life. So that'll be interesting. I think it's safe to say that 20 and down are out. I think Tennessee, Illinois, Missouri, Houston, Tulane could get in, and then Arizona State. I think it's safe to say those are all out. I think Texas is out with 3 losses. So it's really 16 and up fighting for
11 spots.
Yeah, fighting for 11 spots because Tulane's got the 12th.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like Georgia Tech is realistic. SEC could jump in and Oregon could jump out, which both of them benefit from not having the Big Ten championship to have them have 3 losses. And you know what? Same thing for Georgia. They save only 1 loss because that's the other thing. There's 2 9-1 teams playing next week.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech is 9-1 versus 9-1. If Georgia Tech, that's a playoff game.
That's a playoff game for Tech.
I think for both teams. Georgia could squeak in. I could theoretically, yes, I could see Georgia squeaking in at like between 9, 10, or 11 if they lose to Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech catapults up. I think they make it because they'll be 9-1. They'll go to the ACC championship game and they'll probably win over a 9-2 Virginia or 9-2 Miami. Who knows?
Well, and Kevin, honestly, that scenario right there, like if Tech wins, Georgia Tech wins, like that puts then Notre Dame in jeopardy of getting pushed out because Notre Dame's going to have the thought of, hey, you can't get in if Notre Dame can't get in without Miami getting in because Miami beat them on the field. And if they set the precedent of like, hey, early season games don't really matter, these teams are going to stop playing them tomorrow. They'll cancel all of them and be like, this is stupid. Because if we do this, we beat Notre Dame. That should have gotten Miami the breathing room to fall to SMU or to lose to Louisville. And if it doesn't prove out, these teams are all going to be like, screw those tough games. We're going back to playing, Akron in week 2 instead of a big marquee matchup.
Well, Anthony, it has been the fact since 2014. It's been the fact that early season losses don't matter. We started the trend. when we lost to Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And then still made the CFP because we just steamrolled everybody towards the end. It showed that those early games don't matter. And you know what? Towards the latter half of the year, Notre Dame has looked like the better team over Miami. Yeah. If we're taking everything into account, Oregon doesn't have a good win then because they beat a terrible Penn State team. So, the thing is from weeks 0 or 1 to week 10, you're fighting to be in the mix of the top 15, top 16 teams. That's really what those weeks are. And if you lose one and then win the rest, you're going to be there anyway. Yeah. Looking at, if you have a good schedule like BYU or like Oregon or like Georgia or like Ole Miss, who's I think 10-1, that's where I'm it just doesn't matter anymore to win those games. That's the other thing is I don't know if they'll ever stop playing because they're huge money grabs.
That's true. That's a good point.
You look at those games, it's the OSU Texas game. If that's OSU versus BYU or Boise, what are we doing? No one's going to that game, but it was the revenue generated for the school and the city was crazy.
No,
absolutely crazy.
I think you're right. I think you're right here. And just for shits and gigs, we're going to pull ours up here from earlier in the year. And I think we're still pretty alive here. USF's not going to make it, but Vandy could sneak back in. If Georgia Tech runs the table here and beats Georgia, they're not going to be the 3 seed, but they could sneak their way in. Hey, our prediction may not be all that far off, Kev, if things kind of stay status quo. But as we kind of get back to it here, a question I have about the bracket is is there a scenario where you're looking at this and after the Big Ten championship game, one of the either Ohio State or Indiana, let's say they both make it, Ohio State or Indiana gets booted out of the top 4? Is there a world where that happens, or have they built up enough good faith in their seasons that, hey, regardless of outcome, these two teams will be in the top 4 receiving that first round bye?
I think they have to have built that up. I think you can't penalize either one for losing that game. And to be honest, it's almost beneficial depending on how it shakes out if they lose that game. Because if a team like BYU or a team like Utah doesn't jump into that 8 or 9 spot, would you rather play Oklahoma, Notre Dame, or would you rather play Ole Miss? Where would it be? Ole Miss versus Miami. I'd rather play Ole Miss, Miami. Yeah. I don't want to play Notre Dame, OU. Those are 2 good teams.
Really good teams.
Notre Dame's a good team, and I hate it. Literally pains me to say this, but they are.
Yeah. And and truthfully, the way they're playing right now, their defense is kind of coming around, and they're there's only going to be a couple teams that could challenge Ohio State, and I think Notre Dame's one of them because they can run the football, and that's one thing that no one's really been able to do against Ohio State. But a lot of time before all of that happens, and kind of connecting the dots here, I want to talk about the receiver situation in Columbus, Kevin, because, a lot of talk's been happening about this. We talked about it on Monday. We're going to talk about, guess what? Shocker, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about it on Friday. We're going to talk about it on Saturday too, because this is really important. And Coach Day's been asked about it every day this week at media availability. He hasn't dodged it, but there hasn't been very concrete answers. And today's answer was that both of them are working their way to get back to healthy for this. So that's a scary thought, right? It wasn't, hey, they're going to play Saturday. It's they're working to get back. This reminded a lot of folks, and I'm going to credit my guy Dylan Davis from the Delaware Gazette. He was on Doug Lesmerise's show with Bill Landis the other day, and they were talking about the concern level that you should have, because they connected it back to 2022 when Jackson Smith and Jigba got hurt early in the year against Notre Dame, and Ohio State went on the rest of the year. They made the playoff. It was the year, Kevin, that they lost to Georgia as the clock struck midnight on New Year's Eve, and it moved to 2023. But JSN was pretty much a non-factor that entire year because he hurt that hamstring and it lingered. And Coach Day was very very, hey, he's getting better all year long. And it just never came to fruition. How concerned are you, Kevin, that maybe something similar is potentially happening here again with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith for these Buckeyes?
I'm not necessarily that concerned for a multitude of reasons. One, the ability of paying these players has a benefit here because these guys can now afford to take out $20-30 million insurance plans on their body for $160,000 a year premium. Like, that's the reality. And when you're playing in college and you're making $4 million a year on just the NIL, like, from the university, because I think that's what Jeremiah is making, but that's not counting his like Adidas and all his other stuff. Like, you think about that, like he's probably paying $170,000 a year, which is not that bad, because then it just takes your $4 million down to 3.3. But like, if I was 20 years old with $3.3 million,
you wouldn't have a heartbeat right now.
I know I would. It'd be in Barbados. But that's the thing is like these guys, JSN didn't have the ability to take something like this out.
Yeah, and
that's my point. Is like, you're not going to risk paying $106,000 a year to nothing if you just play bad. Whereas these guys are surefire first rounders, just like JSN was. But like the flip side of it is, what is his incentive? If he doesn't have that insurance plan, there is no incentive for him to come back that year. He's not making any money. He's not doing anything that would quantify him coming back. Like that's my argument of why. I mean, people want to connect history to history all the time. I just think it's different. I mean, Jeremiah was limping a lot, but like, you know what? It was, hey, I tried to go before. He looked fine when he went. He really didn't look that bad until he like tightened up. But there's no way that it was like that. I don't know. I'm not super concerned. I also would be a lot more concerned if our depth wasn't what it was at receiver. Like, Carnell is definitely better than Brandon Innes this year, at least. But like, I have full faith in Innes to take up that role if we need him to. Like, he's got that ability. And then you got like Quincy Porter and Graham and Noah Rogers. I think that's who the other receiver is. Like,
right, Bryson Rogers, but close. Yeah, Bryson Rogers. But
like that same thing. But
Rogers was your teammate, wasn't he, or close to?
I don't know. That name popped in my head. Who knows? But that's like I agree. But like, yeah, obviously it's a huge hit. Jeremiah's irreplaceable. Carnell has been a top 3 receiver in the nation this year. However, I don't think either of them are that bad. I think it's also the reality that we've played some really crap teams towards the end of the year.
Yeah. Your point is really good. It's a really, really good one that, the JSN situation, I think you can put it, as an outlier almost because, those guys back then, right, had to manage their money and they had to be, they had to be smart about that. And it's such a a good thing where the college football's gone with the NIL stuff. I think they do have to rein it in a little bit, but it does impact stuff like this where, hey, instead of going on the shelf, if you're Carnell Tate at this point, it's 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you're done. Like, done. You're done. It doesn't matter the national championship. It doesn't matter the game against the team up north. And now that they have the incentive to come back and play, I think you're spot on there, man. I think that's a really, really, really good point. From the on-field perspective, I am concerned a little bit because they need those guys. They definitely are going to need those guys when the competition does crank up a little bit. But for this weekend, Kevin, both of us, I think you and I and the rest of Buckeye Nation are like, I don't want to see 17. I don't want to see number 4 because Ohio State, I think, can take care of business without him.
Yeah, I don't think we need either of them for this week. I mean, all credit to Rutgers for fielding a team this year, but I mean,
respectfully,
of course, all the respect in the world. However, I don't think this is really going to be a ball game. The last time we played the Rutgers in the shoe, we were running fake punts and fake punts and I think like a weird onside kick and stuff like that. Like it's not the same, man. Like it's a warm up punching bag that you hit in the locker before you go out for for the haymaker fight that's coming the next week.
Yeah, and to that point, though, it's critical that they don't overlook them. They won't. This team will not. And we'll get into it a little bit. But you and I talked on our Monday show about the difference between these two teams historically, and I was writing a piece about it last night over on Buckeyes Roundtable. And there was a 4-year stretch from 2015 to 2019, Kevin, where the difference was 200. I think it was 210-9. Was over a 4-year span. There are 6 games. There's 6 games in the entire series where Ohio State has scored more points than Rutgers has in an entire decade. There's 6 times where Ohio State's 4 quarters would have outscored Rutgers' entire decade of offense. So just a totally lopsided affair that's coming our way on Saturday. But Kev, kind of digging in here to the scheme of Ohio State's offense. I know this is a defensive show, but there's a lot of storylines on the offensive side of the ball because our defense is so good. But have you ever, Kevin, been in a offensive line rotation, whether that's in high school, whether that's in college, whether that's wherever? Have you ever had to rotate series from an offensive lineman perspective?
No, I was either too bad to play or was good enough that they didn't feel the need to rotate me.
That's a good one. These Buckeyes over at the right guard position are filtering through 3 guys. Tegra Shabola is the name that everybody recognizes, big number 77. He's been out there a lot. There's a lot of questions surrounding Tegra, especially going back the last couple weeks. The conversation got pretty hot around the Purdue game when he had a couple MAs. It's hard to really evaluate the offensive line position because you don't really see him, and if you do see him, it's a bad thing. But he's rotating with Josh Padilla, who was out last week, and a new name popped into the equation on Friday night. It is junior Gabe Van Sickle, who started playing and played pretty well, and that now enters a third name into the hat. And Kev, today Coach Day was asked if, hey, when everyone's back healthy, will he go 3 guys? He said he will not. He'll keep it to 2. So that leaves 1 guy on the outside looking in. Just from your perspective, playing offensive line, how hard is it? How hard would it be to get into a rotation? Because I'm sure not only do you develop chemistry in game with your teammates, but you start getting a feel of the guy across from you of like, hey, how you're winning on him, how you're losing on him, and that continues to grow throughout a game.
Yeah, I also think you're in your head a lot at that point. Like, you're like, hey, any mistake I make, I'm out. Like, that's the hard part. Like, you got to be able to play with freedom to make mistakes. I don't mean to correct you, but I think Gabe's a redshirt freshman.
Redshirt freshman? There you go.
Because he joined in June of 24. So
Perfect.
This is his second season. I never noticed. The only time I noticed that they were like that there were other linemen in the end zone when they were celebrating touchdowns last week. Like, I barely even noticed that they had any issues. So that is my kind of take on it. I don't foresee an issue. I'm excited to watch it. I didn't even realize Double T was playing as poorly as he was until you pointed it out. Like, yeah. I mean, granted, I've missed a few film sessions where I would have been able to see it, but it's just Yeah, but I mean, I guess Coach Day's been talking bad about it. If we're basing it off of PFF ratings, I'm going to lose my mind.
No.
So yeah, that's kind of my mentality.
Definitely not basing it off of PFF, but it's just something to keep your eye on, especially when Padilla comes back from injury. We'll see how that rotation looks and who that third man or that odd man out's going to be. I know that it's one of those things, especially at Ohio State. You got to be on your P's and Q's at all times because the guys below you are just as good often. So we'll see how that rotation comes together. Kevin, looking at the Ohio State defense, this team is unbelievable. This group's unbelievable. They've stayed healthy all year. They've gotten better each week, which is scary to say. They were one of the best teams in the country, or the best units in the country last year, and they got even better this year, large part due to Matt Patricia joining the squad here. So we got a couple just fun stats to pull up. We were going to try to break down the Rutgers offense versus Ohio State defense. Not much to break down there as we typically do. So you have a couple stats. I have a couple stats. The floor is yours, my friend. What have you seen? What did you find that Ohio State's defense is doing so well?
So we're the number 1 ranked defense in the country, only giving up 212 points. but we're not number one in either category that matters. We're actually number 2 in both of them. In terms of a rushing defense, the best rushing defense in the country currently is Texas Tech, which shocked to hear that, but also not shocked at the same time. And the current best passing defense is Oregon, but that's also because they played Penn State, who is terrible. But they are only 4 yards better than us, actually 3.9 yards better than us per game in passing. And then in terms of rushing, Texas Tech is holding their opponents to 10 less yards a game. So that's definitely a bigger gap, but we are number 1 in terms of total defense. And then just some of the stats that we have are silly. Like Arvell Reese and Kenyatta Jackson. I think that's, Arvell Reese, Kenyatta Jackson, and Caden Curry combined for 18 sacks between the 3 of them for a total of 89, 104 yards. No, wait, that can't be right. Hold on. Give me a second here. 76 plus 48. 126 yards. I think that was the Knights. I don't know. Correct me if you want in the comments. But like that's those are usually you see one guy with those numbers. Usually you see one guy at this point. We've done it every week. I haven't seen anyone with more than 4.5 this year. There's maybe been one with 5. But like thinking about that, he's at 4.5. And then Kane McDonald's at 3, a defensive tackle, which the fact he's getting sacks in general is crazy.
Nuts, man. It is it's out of control. Those stand out, man. And getting after the quarterback is something that is priceless in terms of what a defense can do. I dug deep for a couple ones that I wanted to get an eye on here. The first one is red zone defense. Ohio State's red zone defense is number 1 in the country. Teams are scoring at a 61% rate, which is I want to expand on that in a moment because Ohio State's only given up 11 scores. Okay, that includes field goals and touchdowns. Okay, they've given up 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 red zone passing touchdowns, and 5 red zone field goal attempts for a total of 11 red zone scores from the opponent. That's 61% of the time that a team's executing in the red zone. That's crazy. That teams are not moving the ball. If they're scoring, if 11 is 61% of a number, that is unbelievable. They're not letting teams into the red zone, and when you do get into the red zone, they're making it impossible. And then the other one for me is their third down percentage. Ohio State isn't number 1 in the country; they are actually number 4 in the country. And the 3 teams in front of them, UTEP, which is fine, and then the 2 others, Indiana's number 2, and Texas A&M is number 1. I didn't realize Texas A&M's defense had it like that. But the Buckeyes on third down, they are giving up first downs at a 27% clip. Opponents are converting first downs 27.8% of the time. It's pretty wild. 35 third down conversions on 126 attempts. That's crazy. You get into those money downs, man, and the Buckeyes are coming out on top every single time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we saw it last year. They're doubling down, and then you got people that like the crazy thing is like we can realistically sustain this level of dominance for another 3 years. Like think about like Pettyjohn coming in to replace Arvell. Think about Houston being a staple at defensive end. I mean, you got Aaron Scott. I think it's Aaron. Is it Aaron or Adam?
Yeah, Aaron.
You got Aaron Scott. You got Sanchez at corner. Like, we got these 5-star safeties coming in. It really is crazy. Mm-hmm. I actually just chuckled because Cardinal Tate is on here for 2 tackles. So I don't know what he was tackling on. But
2 picks. Two of Jeremiah's 3 interceptions on the year were tackled by Cardinal. Yeah. There you go. No, it's awesome. They're as good as it gets. And their defense by the numbers is laughable at times because they're just playing so good. So Kev, that was the big picture, the narrow picture, the picture for Saturday. Fully expecting the Buckeyes to dominate again on defense against this Rutgers team. Again, 5-5, only 2 wins in the Big Ten. They are coming off a win this 2 weeks ago against Maryland. But what are you expecting to see from Ohio State's defense on Saturday afternoon?
No, I'd say just be yourself. I mean, that's my key to the game is just be who you've been all year. Get people like C.J. Hicks, like Stover, like Scott, into the game. Get Pettyjohn, get Pierce into the game. And Pierce has played sporadically a good amount, but I want to get younger guys into this game to keep developing them, because what's crazy is we've brought the young guys in at times and they've been able to sustain that level of dominance. And that's what's impressive. And that shows the culture, that shows how good the defensive scheme is. It's impressive. Patricia's an animal. Knowles took a while to get his system going. Patricia jumped in instantly and just started ruining college football for everybody else that isn't named us.
Kev, you know what's cool with Patricia is the videos that come out on Sunday and Monday and stuff, and he's on the field, mixing it up with the guys. It's it looks like he just genuinely loves coaching college football. It's so new to him still, and it's he absolutely loves doing it, man. That part's pretty cool.
Absolutely. I mean, winning makes anybody happy. Winning helps, but at the same time, I think he's wow, why wasn't I doing this sooner? He was making this is how a well-run program, the dynasty, is run in the college level, instead of how Belichick did it, where it was iron fist and weird meetings with cheerleaders that are now his girlfriend. That's the reality. So
that's nuts, by the way, dude.
Oh, yeah, we can go on that. And then that's my key to the game. And then my other key is to support the Buckeye basketballers, because we beat Notre Dame last week.
There we go, dude. Hey, and you had a Buckeye basketball. Hey, you said something. This is a football channel, but we got basketball stuff. You had a whole post about Buckeye, about the Ohio State basketball team. And the Buckeyes are 5-0, 4-0 right now. Do you know? I'm putting you on the spot.
Don't know enough. I can tell you firsthand. I notice when we win based on either Twitter or my buddy who follows them religiously tells me. Those are the only two times.
I do believe they're 4-0, but we'll see. We'll figure it out. It doesn't matter. They beat Notre Dame, which was big, and they are rolling. My key for Ohio State's defense, it's been the key every week. Stay healthy. This group's head and shoulders and chest above everybody else in the entire country. They're a pain in the butt for everyone to deal with. They're so good, so skilled, so athletic, so well coached. They're all the things, and they're just better than everybody. So keep the main guys healthy, and get out of this one on top. So, all right, Kev, we're going to get out of here on that. A nice little show for everybody tonight as you work your way through yet another week. We got Thanksgiving coming up. We'll have a couple shows before Thanksgiving, but we're going to have a Thanksgiving episode where we break down all of our favorite foods. Get to the site. Kev's pointing down right below us. Buckeyes Roundtable. Get over there. Go follow Kevin. Go follow myself. Bunch of good content over there on our site. So make sure you're following along there. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Kevin, any final thoughts as we get out of here tonight?
No, I hate Miami.
I hate Miami.
I hate Miami. That's my final thought.
There we go. We're getting out of here on that. We hate Miami. We love our Buckeyes. Thanks, everybody, for jumping in and hanging out with us. We'll be back later on in the week as we get closer to kickoff between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, coming your way on Saturday afternoon inside the Horseshoe. So thanks, everybody, for jumping in with us. We'll be back with you again soon here on the Buckeyes Roundtable YouTube channel.